you can still imagine yourself in existence or connected with the Roman Empire, for instance, or ancient Greece. You can have a fantasy that you were alive then, even though your attitudes might be completely different. And despite what we say about things which happened 5,000 years ago, our basic concept of time goes back to about 2,500 BC. Consequently, if you imagine our lives last for 100 years, which they don't exactly, but they could do, then we have a significant amount. Our life is in proportion to the complete our continuity of consciousness culturally still occupies a significant amount. Small but significant. And if you go forward 100,000 years, then it becomes deadly very small, unless we extend life. So I think people will may come to feel very insignificant in 100,000 years' time.
Yes, this is a completely new concept, actually.
I only thought of it.
Mm-hmm. Because 100,000 years. There will be 100,000 years of audiovisuals, of two-dimensional films, events, and representation, and other stuff, history. So actually,
a lot of future science fiction is based upon the concept of life extension. Actually, that people can their lives will expand to 500 or 1,000 years. This is actually in proportion to the extension of time, to maintain the balance between our present 100 years, call it, versus the 2,500 years of civilization as we know it.
So that actually in the future you will need to live 500 years to have the impression to live 70 years.
To have the impression you are significant.
Yes. So to live 70 years. There is simply too much past.
And because no matter how many bones we dig up, we can have no inner feeling for a previous human existence which goes back for 100,000 years or 150,000 years. But humans were there, living their short lives up to the age of 30 if they were lucky, and thinking in a way, and eating. But we have, this is a huge mass, and on top is civilization and consciousness and history and everything else. And it's
yes, it's a microscopic part.
It's a microscopic part, but we don't think about that. We just cut off there at the beginning of recorded history, which you can say is 5,000 years ago, or in my brain it's 2,500 years ago.
Yeah, but actually in the real case, it's 3,000 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 2,500 years.
Approximately. So therefore our lifespan is a significant percentage of 2,500 years.
Yes, I think it's only 40 generations until the time of Christ. It's almost nothing. You can have 40 generations of butterflies in a few months.
Yeah. So we forget completely the pre-existence. We can't even imagine it, except just theoretically. And therefore, however, if you go forward 100,000 years, with complete continuity of records, and which is a kind of continual consciousness, if we do not expand life to the science fiction fantasies of 1,000 years of life, or 2,000 years of life, or in some cases 1,000,000 years of life, then the people of the future will be like microscopic insects, subjectively to themselves, perhaps, maybe.
Yeah, the point is the evolution of the mind, because actually the human mind has changed very much even in the last 100 years, because now people believe that they are in second life when they play computer, which is completely mad. They think that what happens in TV is real, that people play video games and then they continue shooting in the real world. So actually there are a lot of strange things that were completely unthinkable before, and we have no imagination of the madness that is going to come just in a few decades. So 100,000 years, it's completely unimaginable, but with the future, because actually the changing are accelerating exponentially in such a way that it must very soon lead to an explosion of changes of paradigms, one after the other. I don't know what this means, but it means that everything is completely unpredictable in a very, very, very short term. But the future will happen anyway.
Yes.
So it's not
But I mean,
clear.
suppose you are born in 100,000 years from now, with a lifespan of 100 years, that is not much. You feel like an insect. This could have a big, devastating psychological effect upon people. I mean, now we think we can make some difference, because the centuries matter. There are only 25 of them, or 30.
Well, not even, because actually for most of the people the only century which matters is the last one, the latest one, because it's the one where there is when TV has been invented. And
for a lot of people,
Because for a lot of people, history is just only what they can see on TV. So it's 100 years of history. Less and less people read books and will read books in the future. So actually, probably we will be going back to analphabetism. So actually, now
even illiteracy.
Illiteracy, So actually, we already are in a place where people think that life existed only for 100 years. And before there were strange characters that you can see in zoos or in theaters.
Yes. Fictional characters.
Fictional characters.
And already the Nazis have become fictional.
Yes, and in black and white.
It can be in colour also, because there are colour films.
Well, yes, but there has been some reports of people who were in the concentration camps who already remembers this period in black and white.
So that's right.
Yeah. Some of them remember their own memories in black and white. It's a kind of the overlapping of the grammar of this narration, and this happens to everybody. So actually, I made once a video, black and white, which was creating for deceiving people into believing this is very old, just because it was in black and white.
Well, often in science fiction of the 100,000 years ahead, there's two possibilities, one of which is that your life is supremely enriched, because you can split your body into different avatars and send it around the cosmos, and then you come together and have a party every 1,000 years, where your different selves share their memories, and you are supremely very much enriched. Then there's the kind of sad Silverberg version where everything has been done and there is no reason to do anything more. Possibly people in 100,000 years' time will be born with a sense of insignificance, complete insignificance.
Unless they develop the capability of remembering everything that has happened before. It's quite unlikely, but with
they need extensions.
With extensions,
cybernetic extensions, but you can only sort of press buttons to switch them on, and they,
so they may live the whole life rethinking it all which has happened, and their life will be nothing.
And then they would not live. They would do nothing.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe this is the ultimate destiny.
We're very lucky, in fact, to be alive at this particular period in time, because the past does not dwarf us, and the future has very optimistic possibilities, with even hints now that people who are born now may live 1,000 years, which is probably nonsense, complete nonsense, but there is the hint, the possibility. That means that your individual memory, even if you die, might last with other people for 1,000 years. And that seems a long time into the future.
Yeah, we are already regretting not to have lived some periods, for example, which has been mythologized, made into mythology by cinema, like
the 1960s.
The 1960s.
You saw that on the cookery program, including one very interesting comment showing confusion. I'm glad I was born in the 1960s. You do not experience the 1960s if you are just born in them, because you will only be at maximum 10 years old by the end of them. And I heard that on that program. The envy of people born, no, it should be the envy of people born in the 1950s or even 1940s, because then they can experience in freedom the 1960s. But to be born in the 1960s is to be condemned not to experience them.
I've been once deceived by a TV program which was showing in black and white the good old times when Bob Marley came to Italy and made a concert, and actually they were showing the stadium in Turin where Bob Marley was making the only concert he made, which entered into a rock or any music mythology, and you could see all these funny people dressed in
continuity error.
Exactly. All this. Just put it in the middle, so it's for the focus. So actually, you could see all these people with very long hair and dressed in the way of the late 70s, early 80s, and kind of late hippies. And I was thinking, oh, good times, it would have been nice to be there. And then suddenly I remembered that I was one of them, but just the people that were showing, because I was at that concert. So when they were showing all these people that were so alien to me, and I was regretting not to have lived in that epoch, I suddenly realized that not only I was living in that epoch, but actually I was probably on screen somewhere between all the others, you know. And it has been very funny, you know, to see the mythology and the reality overlapping, you know.
Well, I missed a lot of the 60s because I was in Japan at the time, but I experienced the 60s through...
There were no 60s in Japan.
There were, but in the perception...
they were calling it differently.
By the Japanese of the 60s, it made it even more bizarre and special in a way. Beatles, psychedelic art, you know, that immediately came into Japan, and it was more like being in a sort of Disneyland of the 60s in Japan than living in London at the time.
I cannot say anything. I was a very little child.
A fetus,
I was a very old fetus.
Yeah, I have been thinking about this, you know, the perception of time. We just do not have enough history to be able to perceive time.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, when we will have
if you have
100,000 years of moments that you can regret not to have lived. Must be wonderfully horrible.
Possibly more horrible than wonderful.
Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to say.
But on the other hand, if we become extinct within the next 200 or 300 years...
I don't really think that.
Well, I don't know.
Well, we could, civilization
could collapse, and then we have...
Well, actually, it's very likely in a way. But
and then you have the 100,000 who survive in different parts of the planet. They are immediately thrown back into primitive existence. They have the monuments of the gods around them, They themselves are desperately trying to eat and drink and.
Yeah, it depends how many actually people would remain, because
It
if there is a critical mass of people, they could rebuild a part of technology, because of course you couldn't have all the experts of all the disciplines which exist now.
No.
You have books, so in time.
You can make books. Electronics is another problem.
Yeah, this is the problem. If a lot gets destroyed, even with the books, you cannot really.
But according to mitochondrial DNA, I think at one point the human race was reduced to about 50 individuals.
When? Yeah, really?
Yeah, I think so. It became very, very small.
And very endangered.
Very endangered.
How can they calculate something?
Through mitochondrial DNA.
Oh.
To see the variations in mitochondrial DNA. To see how many people the present human race is derived from. And there was a choke point, choke as in, where it became very.
50 people.
I think it is as small as about maybe 50 people.
Just the last try. In a way, it's quite reasonable to think that, because it has changed a lot of times, and every time it changed, all the other ramification would disappear.
Cut off.
Or cut off, yeah. So,
disappear.
So in this case, there must be a little tribe, which was the one which would survive, and 50 people is a reasonable size for a tribe.
Is genetically well, 200 is more genetically viable, but we have a lot of inherited diseases and problems and so forth. I think it became very, very small, the human race at one time. I can't remember when, 100,000 years ago, or probably.
There could have been other varieties of almost human beings who actually went extinct.
Well, there were.
Well, I mean, with comparable well, then and but.
Well, there were about 7 species of human beings, I think.
Yeah, before the Cro-Magnon.
Yeah, and then the Neanderthals went out. They appear to have been much more intelligent than we think, and could speak, and so they were just missing something.
And we don't know what.
No. Maybe they were too nice.
Possible.
Yeah, I mean, so we almost vanished about 100,000 years ago.
Yeah, and then we needed.
And we are very
97,000 years.
Yeah, to build back.
97,000 years to go. Of doing nothing, just eating and hunting a little bit.
Hunting and breeding and
then in the last 3,000 years, 3,000-4,000 years.
Yeah, suddenly the explosion comes. Well, in the last 5,000 years. The explosion.
Even 10,000 years.
But that is almost nothing.
Yeah, for at least 90,000 years they were doing very little. It's a lot of time.
Yes, it is. That is the point, and we are on top of that as a tiny little fraction of what you could call pre-existence.
Also, theoretically, our civilization could finish, and then we could have another 90,000 years of
the same
before, because there is no reason why it shouldn't go back to that point. Well, now we have language, and this is more difficult to destroy.
Language is difficult to destroy.
And it contains meaning, so.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, people work on destroying language, such as the idiots. The typical British disadvantaged teenager has very destroyed language by now. No consciousness of awareness of what he is saying. It is like the noises of an animal.
By the way, this leads me that after that we stop talking, I could show you idiocracy.
Oh yes.
Which is exactly in tune with this argument.
I strongly think I will go to sleep by then, but yeah, language will mutate very fast if there is not a controlling authority. I mean, the Académie Française is ridiculous because it has created a corset which prevents expression of anything new in French, according to Claude Lumière. It is very difficult to express new things in French. But if you do not have, I mean, we have a control over us since about the time of Shakespeare or a little bit before, partly caused by printing, and education also, so that we could actually, it's only 400 years, that is the most you could hope for in mutual comprehensibility, maybe 500 or 600, not a lot. And in fact, with the advance of technology, you will require more and more neologisms, newly coined words. So it is possible that somebody in the year 1900 is more mutually comprehensible to somebody in 1500 than we are with somebody in 1800, possibly. So the control of language could go away very easily if you are restricted to survival only, because all of the unnecessary words will disappear, and the concepts with them.
Yeah, probably they would just talk about tools necessary to get food. And so most of the words will disappear within a few generations at the most.
Yeah, in fact, intellectually, linguistically, our consciousness, expanded consciousness, could disappear faster than the traces of concrete and metal.
Yes, and so the words even to describe these substances could disappear before.
Well, they would, because there would be no
use.
No use.
Well, actually, if you think about that, probably a lot of words has already disappeared within the last century. Okay, we have a lot of new words, but a lot of the new words are all connected with technology.
They are largely.
And natural consequences and objects that exist and didn't exist before. But regarding other features, abstract features, so abstract words, a lot have disappeared. If you read something written 100 years ago, it's more complex.
There's more sensibility.
More words.
Yes. That are connected with feelings.
With feelings
and discrimination of feelings.
Exactly. So all this has already disappeared. So part of the language is already extinct, partially extinct.
Yeah, it still exists because of dictionaries, etc., but it is not used functionally by the majority of people.
Yeah, if you take the dictionaries away, it disappears.
Yeah, so I'm particularly happy to live now when we have the complete available vocabulary at its highest level to express fine grades of meaning. And also, while we still have for a moment cheap air travel and ability to move around, which might go, and we're very lucky to be alive now.
Yes, on the other side, if the society would not collapse, civilization would not collapse, then we would have a demographic explosion of words in the future.
Oh, yes.
Probably, I mean, even less and less emotional words that are used to describe emotions, etc. But words describing objects and phenomena and magical science.
Yeah. I mean, how do a lot of people express emotion nowadays? I was like Way Out or something. They have lost the discrimination of sensibility which existed in the 19th century in novels. When people spoke in prose, maybe perhaps. perhaps, instead of just.
They were all speaking as Shakespeare.
Well,
Not really.
well, I think a lot of people were speaking as Shakespeare in the time of Shakespeare. It was actually a very rich and vivid and wide vocabulary. And then people continued to speak in a fairly rich way. The moderately educated ones. And the vocabulary was richer in the past, I think, because the usage of it was wider, whereas it is actually more restricted now. We know a lot of words, but
well, you already know more than me.
oh yeah, but in English, not in Italian.
Ah, yes, I know them in a lot of languages.
Yeah, you know them in a lot of languages. This is good, yeah. Yeah, so
Now there may be people watching us and they don't understand why we stop talking.
well, we stop talking in order to think. Why do you imagine?
Well, if they are looking at us, it means they have nothing to think.
No, from the far future, yes. This alone has survived from the early 21st century.
Yes, maybe they found this video inside a pyramid.
Well, it is quite possible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's especially with the eye of the camera there, looking at us as a viewer from time. I mean, it is contained within a bit of equipment which you have in the present and understand. But if there was a disembodied eye, invisible eye floating in the room, it would be the same kind of thing, really.
Yeah, certainly it's an eye sending images into undefined quantities of futures.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how many times it will appear in how many futures. But it may appear a lot of times each time somebody watches that.
Yeah. Or it might go into data death and it just disappear because all of the technology.
In this case, nobody would listen and it would make any sentence. So we have to assume that somebody is listening.
Yeah, we must assume somebody. Are you listening there?
They will think that you existed only in 80% because 20% of you is out of the picture.
Oh, should I move closer to you?
I don't know, it could be an idea just to prove to our possible...
I have a full body.
Yeah, well, now they...
Oh, you can say, yeah, I can see the screen now.
Now you are in the middle of the picture.
Oh, well.
It's good to be in the middle of the picture because people think that you exist to a far extent.
Yeah.
So you were not marginalized.
And I completely exist.
Maybe in the future it will be forbidden to smoke, so that people
will not know what I am doing.
Exactly.
They have no idea.
I think that you are absorbing food this way.
Yeah, in our period, this is how we ate. We have sticks of concentrated food energy, which we must set fire to, and then breathe into our bodies.
Absorbing it from the lungs.
Yeah. From the tissues of the lungs. They might believe this.
Oh, I think.
Or the alien archaeologists might believe this.
Well, given enough people, somebody will believe it for sure.
We must assure you that we ate the dead body of a butchered animal.
Tonight, in 2 big slices.
Yes, cooked over fire, just the way it happened 100,000 years ago.
But unlike it will happen in 100 years from now, since mammals were going to be extinct before 100 years.
So we are eating them while we can have the opportunity.
Maybe somebody will watch this video when mammals will not exist anymore. So actually, they will look at these 2 people talking about food with the awareness that it will disappear. While usually people would talk about without this awareness.
Yeah, and I had a large cod, which is a fish, which I did not understand how it was so large, the cod that I ate. And this is probably because it was the last large cod.
I don't know what's a cod, but I trust you.
It was the fish I ate.
Ah.
At Heathrow in the.
When you were lucky, yes.
Yeah, in the restaurant.
Fishes should survive more than mammals because they can hide better.
Yeah, I know, but when you use trawlers that remove everything from the ocean.
Yeah, that's true.
And suck it up and.
Yeah, they could go extinct as well.
Of course, they can go extinct. So we are also eating the last of the creatures.
I suppose that in the future cannibalism will be very popular. Because now we have some slight taboo on this, which actually are unnatural because this solves a lot of ecological problems.
Oh yes, it really gets rid of the excess population.
Yes.
And
for this reason, probably now in this era, the system is self-organizing itself with people who supersize, which we don't understand.
No, but
why.
they are to provide food resources
for the
us.
people of tomorrow.
Yeah. For the thin ones,
for the thin
run
ones.
after and catch them.
Exactly. So actually, the world will, in the probably not too far future, be divided into those who actually are eating and those who are eaten, and everybody will be able to choose the category to belong to.
I choose to be an eater rather than eaten.
The point is, what do the people who are fat going to eat in order to become so fat in order to be eaten? It's a little problem because cannibalism will be popular because there won't be food. So probably the fat people will be eating only during the transition phase.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We should go for the fat people first.
This means that the genome of the surviving people will be people which tend to be slim.
Slim. So in the future, it will look like statues by Giacometti. He was a 20th century Italian artist. Italy always produced the greatest artists of mankind.
And some good food too.
In the future they will be tall, thin, and able to run fast.
We almost finished the wine, and actually we have 1 minute to go before the eye from the future won't be able to...
Now we should explain, we have not actually finished all the wine on planet Earth, just simply this bottle.
Primitivo del Salento.
And so, we raise our glasses in a toast to you of the future in your impoverished world, deprived of words, and without fish. And
why we enjoy Primitivo del Salento in Moreton Pink.
Yes. We pity you deeply.
The only problem will happen if we will eventually one day watch back this video and we will fail.
At a time when we are starving.
Exactly. Yes, and ourselves of the past pity us mercilessly.
And we will understand the reason why they pity us. While we now pity ourselves in the future.
Few seconds to go.
Yes, well.
And then you won't have any chance to see us anymore.
No. And all your knowledge will be lost. And we have not said any of the things you want to know about this period. We have just babbled. For instance, we have not told you about the arrival of aliens on Earth.
Shh, this is a secret.
Okay.
They must not know.
No, okay. Oh, well, the aliens have kept it
Shh.
Or It is no harm to mention the discovery of an intelligent civilization of giant squids on the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
Well, that's obvious. Everybody knows that.
Well, yeah, and their cities.
But don't talk about the aliens.
No.
There are no aliens.
No. Never. There never have been aliens. And we did land on the moon.
For sure.
Absolutely. If you go there, you will see the footprints. They cannot be simulated.